once was a clown who lived by the sea, who in reality was just a person, not unlike you and me. A boy whose cheeks were always painted with red spots, and an ability and tendency to tie his limbs into knots. People laughed at him and called him insane, when really he only clowned to cover up his pain. At heart, he really was a lonely soul, you see. It wasn't like he had someone to hold or any place to be.
He dedicated his life to making people laugh. Everyone just thought he was simply daft. After all, he just tied his arms and feet into knots. It wasn't like he was the attractive sort. Just a clown in a suit, somewhat juxtaposed to the mall he cavorted in until it closed.
But then one day he saw a girl with eyes like honey and innocent brown curls. Her skin was pale cream, adorned with exquisite lace, her lips full and red like the spots on his face. Before he knew it, our clown was in love with the girl who shopped on the floor above. It wasn't long before he set himself the task of talking to the angel behind this mortal mask. It was awkward at first, he was shy, sweating in his suit, but she just smiled and said he was cute.
They met every day after, either in the mall or in town. Neither thought it strange that she was with a clown. They were just friends, but she helped him heal, helped him remember what it was like to feel. And slowly he decided that he wanted more. He just wanted her to let him inside that final door. He had no idea what he was going to do. But wouldn't it be wonderful, he thought, if she loved him too?
And so he worked up the courage to confess. He waited for an opportunity, his heart anxious in his chest. And the day finally came that he made up his mind that he'll ask her right then and see what answer he'll find. It took him all day to get ready, hours to prepare, straightening his bold nose to match his frizzy red hair. For the final touch, he added a piece of his own art. He carefully tied his arms together into a beautiful heart.
With his makeup applied, he trotted to her house, without forgetting the flowers and a novelty mouse. He rounded the corner, his shoes squeaky on the floor, and nervously rang the bell outside her door. She came out surprised and asked, "Why are you here?" And he simply said, "I love you. Will you be mine, my dear?" His heart was beating almost faster and harder than he could stand, as he stood there waiting with his heart-shaped hands.
She stayed silent, clearly unsure of what to say, and the seconds stretched into minutes alongside his growing dismay. When she speaks, her words are of the most careful choice, but still bare naked is the pity in her voice. She says, "I'm so sorry, I wish I didn't have to let you down, but I don't really want a boyfriend right now, and you're just a clown."
It was almost too cruel, of all the hardships he's had to take. The only one he'd been spared from until now was heartbreak. And break he did at her softly spoken words, waiting only to say something too softly to be heard. And before there was anything else she could say, his limbs were unwound and he was walking away. It took a few moments before he started to run, leaving her alone to contemplate just what she had done.
His house was plain, alone on a cliff by the beach, with the rolling blue water so close and just out of reach. The clown stood on the edge and placed his hands on his heart, wishing nothing more than for this new pain to depart. For this world was just a place where he didn't want to be, and so he tied his limbs to rocks and threw himself into the sea.
A few days later, the girl came to his door, her own shoes squeaky and nervous on the floor. She opened the door and stepped into the house, opening her hands to reveal his novelty mouse. With a shy smile on her face, she calls his name, waiting for his voice that actually secretly set her heart aflame.
She walks through the rooms, her voice curious and alone, and she finally enters his bedroom and sees on the table his phone. Staring at it, she notices with a sense of presage that bold on the screen are the words "new message." The fact that makes her heart quail even more is that the message is dated as being from 5 days before, and so she opened the message and began to read softly the final words of our clown's sad little story. The message is short and a secret between me and you, 4 short lines that tore her heart into 2. For her, I tied my arms into the strongest heart, but I only took 1 sentence to rip it apart. Even my knots now are too torn to tie, and so I suppose it's time to bid the world goodbye.
The tears feel strange, tears from the eyes that spill, tears that patter and drip onto the table sill. And so she reaches to her porcelain face with mascara streaks, and slowly starts to rub his makeup into her cheeks. Carefully she raises her delicate, inflexible hands, and starts with difficulty to twist them like elastic bands. And when she's finished, she looks just like him at the start, except that her arms are tied into a broken heart.
There now is a clown who lives by the sea, who in reality is just a person not unlike you and me. A girl whose cheeks are always painted with red spots, and an ability and tendency to tie her limbs into knots. People laugh at her and call her insane, when really she only clowns to cover up her pain. At heart she really is a lonely soul, you see. It's not like she has someone to hold or any place to be.